Hello again. We're going to take a look in this video at how you can create an assembly in Inventor. Assembly files are ones where you actually take parts that you draw and assemble them together to make a more complicated object. In this one, we're going to be assembling the dragster body and installing 2 axles and 2 front wheels and 2 rear wheels to make a completed dragster in Inventor. So let's take a look at how we begin this process. When we want to start in Inventor, we're going to be creating a new file. We can select new right here. And this one is going to be a standard.iam. IAM stands for Inventor Assembly File. So we'll double click this one. And you can see a blank work area. If you notice up here, you've got a different ribbon layout than you've had as you were creating parts files in Inventor. You've got different tools on here, different items to work with. So let's take a look at the process that goes into creating a dragster. The first thing we're going to do is place our first part into the assembly. And for our purposes, that should be the dragster body. And I'm just going to be using a basic wedge-shaped dragster. I'm going to select that file and I'm going to open it and click in here toward the middle of the area. And you'll notice that it's put one, and now we kind of have a preview of another one. So if we needed another body, we could go ahead and click and put a second one in there. We don't need this, so we're going to right click here and say OK, and we've got our one. Now at this point, before we go any farther, what we need to do is we need to come over to our browser, and right here, if we look at this icon, I'm going to try to blow this up for us some. If you will notice, you've got basically just a cube shape where it says Dragster Design Basic. And that's a little bit of a problem because this first part needs to be actually pinned in place so it's not moving around the assembly area. So to do that, what we're going to do is right click on it, and we need to look in our menu about 2/3 of the way down for the grounded option. We're going to ground this, and if you'll notice then, there's actually a push pin through that icon, which shows that that part is locked in space and it won't be moving around on us, which is a good thing. Alright, to go ahead, we're going to go ahead and place. At this point, I think I'll put my axles in, and I'll have one for the front, and I'll have one for the back, and OK. And I'm going to go ahead and place my front wheel, one on this side, one on this side. Right click and say OK, and I'm going to place my back wheels, one over here, right click and OK. Alright, so I have all my parts sitting in here. I can pick them up and move them. I can scoot them around. Everything will move except for my body, which we grounded. And that's just fine. So at this point, I'm going to start with the front wheel. And I'm going to choose to do a free rotate on that one. Click on it. And at this point, I'm going to grab this little line over here on the right side of the circle, and I'm going to spin that around because I want to see this hub area in the middle. Right click and OK. To begin putting the axle into that front wheel, we're going to constrain it. Constrain means to remove the ability for parts to move around, and it actually provides a way of locking things in place. So I'm going to select Constrain, and I want this one right here. This option is Insert. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the center line that runs down through from one end to the other of the axle. If you notice the little red arrow pointing out, that's good. I want it pointing in this direction, which will make it go into that front wheel. So I'm going to click here, come over and select that hub and get the center line running down through it. And that actually puts the axle touching the end of the wheel, not all the way into it. To make it go into the wheel, I want to set the offset. And my instructions say this is negative 0.25. If you notice, that actually moved into the wheel. I'll apply that. I'll go ahead at this point and let's insert the axle into the front axle hole. So we're still inserting. So let's select center line there, center line here, and you can see very easily there the axle just is sitting at the outside edge of the dragster body. So the offset on this one is going to be a -1, which will slide it through the dragster, and you can just see the end of the axle peeking out on the other side. I'll go ahead and apply that. And we're going to go in similar manner to start the axle and the rear wheel. I'm going to pause the recording at this point and kind of catch up some of that. Hold on a minute. Okay, so at this point I've made a couple of adjustments. I've switched to the other side where I'm looking at the other side of the dragster, and you can see the axle sticking through there, and I'm ready to install these two wheels. It's going to be the same process we used to put the axle in the wheel. So we're going to constrain and insert the center line of the wheel and the center line of the axle, and we want the offset to be a -0.25. You see it scoot right up onto the axle. And we'll apply that, and then we're going to do the same thing. We can start with the axle here if we wish. Do the center line there, and a -0.25, which will scoot it right on there and apply that. And then if we switch to home view, you can see we got everything assembled. We'll do an orbit here, and you can see that the wheels are snugged up to the dragster body on both sides. Everything's ready to go, looking wonderful. And one of the neat things, if you grab the wheels, you can actually rotate them on the axle right here, just like you could in real life, which is sort of an interesting feature of how we've assembled this one. So at this point we have the assembly finished, and it's in good shape, ready to be saved and then shared with other folks. I hope the video helped you, and hope you have good luck installing wheels and axles into your dragster body. Look forward to racing with you.